Good morning, Bruce here. Just finished my Y bit O is the underlying, so I'm gonna jump in and do Coney and Misty for you guys. Okay, a couple of things. Um, Sometimes Yielmax uploads their prices for their trades. They're called interday. And today I tried many times to pull that and they weren't there. That doesn't mean that they don't do it later or I can't get the numbers, but apparently something happened. I've had, when I was doing Crash, they posted PayPal's data in Crash. So, anybody's prone to administrative errors in posting. But they always update what they call holdings, which says after that trading day, going into the next day, what are all their positions. So we can easily then determine exactly what trades when you understand this stuff really well. So let's jump into that. So yesterday, I don't really know the cause. I haven't had a lot of time to explore it, but we pulled back pretty aggressively, and I don't really know the rationale for it necessarily. But really between 200 and 240 is still, that 200 is massive support. Last time it went down to 194 or something and immediately flew back up. But anyway, we ended up at 214 and that was down 5.55%. So we did a better job in Coney, right? So Coney pulled back $1, well, 99 cents to be exact. So we only pulled back $4.31, which happens when we have a series of weeklies, which is exactly what their job is, to collect revenue and not get run by. And when we go down some, they almost ensure that we have a higher probability to collect those weeklies. And they always target the weeklies to calculate your payout, although if you have a fantastic payout on the synthetic, they will borrow some of that money and put it in and give you a higher payout. So we've talked about that at distribution time. So I made a guess here. It's a pretty educated guess. So I know that they put on 280 contracts. I know that they use $230 strike price, right? Because that's in the holdings. The actual amount, and then I can go to the options tables, because if you remember on the coin options, which these are, I own a coin option to sell at 240, and I sold it when the market moved up and got like 605 for it on Monday, right? So yesterday it opened around $3 and now it's like 57 cents. But I won't buy it back until later in the week, and hopefully it moves back up, because I want to write another call next week on that. I couldn't even write it in the 230s, but I'll take a look at that. So anyway, what I wanted to tell you is this is not a final price, but it really traded between about $1 and $3. So I used an educated guess and said they collected 67,000, right? So that puts us, we add those two numbers together, and this is our current running total on selling calls. Now, why did they put this position on? Well, first of all, they sold a lot of, let me see what's happening here with my number, why that isn't. I may have done something wrong here, but here's the net. They collected a lot of cash. They went from 18,800,000 to 19,850,000. Again, unless somebody did a typo, but the fact that they put on these additional synthetics and put on these additional calls, likely that's where the money came from. It's within reason, it's a 4 or 5% add. So in knowing that, let's go take a look at the synthetics, right? They clearly are now holding these, and they clearly added to their synthetics, which are right here at the 260, okay? So they added 280 puts and, buy a call, sell a put, and then they chose what did I tell you the number was? 230, right? Which totally makes sense, right? So because we're trading at 214, there's a very good probability with 3 trading days that they're going to keep this money. This is the one we really want them to keep, right, at 237. So more on that later. So let's go to the 260 synthetic. And again, I had to choose the numbers, right? But in this, it's somewhere, it closed at 94 cents. It was maybe $1.80. So I said, okay, they sold 280 and they got $1 here, right? Or sorry, they didn't get, they spent $1. Here, it closed at 45.7, or sorry, it closed at 46. That's how far out of the money, right? This 46 comes from the fact that 260, they need to be there for this to be zero by 517, right? So we're kind of hurting on this thing to the tune of 91 million. You know, Misty went through this. So if so, they'll probably, if they don't move up, they'll probably close this out on Friday, take the loss and just move into a lower synthetic, right? Depending on where coin is. If coin's at 220 or 230, they might create a synthetic at that price. So this was an educated guess, a very smart, educated guess in that it's not going to vary much. And when you're this far out of the money, you sell the put for a lot more than you buy the call for, right? So I'm showing we added, you know, 1,200,000 and, you know, call it 50,000, 52,000, which we did, right? Right here, 12520. So that's going to get reflected, okay, in our payment tab. But before we do that, let's look at holdings. So this is the new share account, which was 5.59. Now, if you told me YBIT, which has got 400,000 shares only after 12 trading days, added 1 million shares, I might think it's a data error or think it's suspect. But this is very reasonable. The data error is that they didn't post their price on their trades. Or if they did, they were there for 3 minutes and they disappeared because I pulled consistently and couldn't find them. But it's happened before and it turned out it was an error. Okay, so we're looking good on our weeklies. This is starting to look ugly, right? We've got 8 trading days, including today's trading, to get to 260, right? And we're at 214. So even if we take a loss, it's okay, and we move into a new synthetic, which Misty is already done, right? They rolled out of theirs. They were ahead of the game, and they added another one. So this is our cash. All the shares bought put a lot of money into the cash bucket, right? That'll get distributed, and that's what I didn't update correctly over here. I'm still showing 18 minus, and it should be a 16. So we got a bunch of cash there, and they use some of it for these synthetics, right? And this long call. But this one doesn't cost them anything, and the other one didn't either. So they're kind of flush on cash right now. And I'm glad they waited. Let's see where the price direction's gonna go. So this, they want to fix, right? They want to get past this. These are looking tremendous, right? So now you see this count, right, went up 280. This was like 19,995, right? It was the equivalent of these two calls added together, and they're synthetic. And then we added the 230, and I'm guessing they sold it for, what did I say, $2 or something. They could have sold it right at what it ended at, but my guess is, you know, maybe it was $2. I just threw out 240 there. But again, that's not going to alter because it's low volume. If it was a massive volume, it would really skew things a little bit. So let's finish up on holdings and then jump in. So this worked out, right? We closed at 21.96, right at what all of the values added up, right? And I updated these charts. Look at this. This has gotten ugly now. So we're now 91 million behind the 8 ball, right? We don't want to be that with only 8 trading days to go. So I'm hoping that gets fixed. Here's our payments. Again, we got such a long time before next payday. There's no panic. This is our share count, right? So that drags this money down. This is accurate, and this is accurate. So we're setting on a 39-cent gain. The higher this goes, the more money we need to make. But again, the more money flowing into the fund, the more positions they can put on, the more volume of contracts. So no concern, no nervousness really for this. I just want to see it bounce. Let's go take a look at the chart. I didn't update it on one day, but you can see right here, right? It had been like 226. What was the number the day before? Yeah, 226 down to 214. So when we look at that, we see on the chart, right, this strong support line, the top over here, and we went below it intraday and pushed right back up. So there's strong support at 210. So I suspect if we go down there and touch it, we'll break out. Now we don't want to see that break down because that could run to, bring 180 into play, 150 into play. And based on BTC, I don't see that, right? I really don't. And as a matter of fact, based on the earnings and everything else I see, I don't know if it's the SEC related news on Ethereum, but everybody said Ethereum's probably not going to get okayed anyhow, and BTC is going to be the go-to crypto. I'm really not a crypto guy in terms of altcoins and meme coins and all of their ecosphere. I just believe in BTC. So I think we're fine here. Again, is there risk? Of course there's risk. Anytime you buy a stock, there's risk. I just happen to like YieldMax and what they do. And like I said, I own some coin. And I've done really well. I own it at a much lower price, and I've written 2 or 3 calls and been collecting premium and will continue to do that. So anyway, I think that sums up. We don't have a breakout. I always look at my chart. If I see something really important, I'll update it. Probably by tomorrow, I'll update it anyhow. All right, guys, I think that covers CONY. Let's jump into MSTY. MSTY had a trade, and MSTY also, the data wasn't there, right? My YBIT didn't have any trades. So, and I actually saw Ulti. I don't report in the detail like I do on Ulti, but somebody had uploaded Ulti's trade. So I think it's just a data error of some kind. So let's jump in here. What did MSTY do? Well, MSTY had a better day, and so did Mr. So Mr. was down from 1268 to 1257, down 0.9%, right? Not even, 1%. And look at this. We were down less. Again, the weeklies are saving us. So they got cash flow in their share count. They got 225,000. Let's look here where I calculated, right? So they got 225,000, and by contrast, CONY got 1,050,000 or 1,150,000. But they both got around 5%, right? So these numbers match a lot closer, 3009 and 3017 on our actual close. But for some reason, I think it was YBIT that was really construed. Let's keep going on the Maytab. So we did 2 trades, right? We did a pair for our synthetic, and we also did a single here. They were both 50, right? So we added 50 synthetics, and I'll show those in a minute, where we buy a call, sell a put. and then we pick a strike price and we sell. So Mike G, congrats, buddy, and me too. Let's go look before. I'll tell you what they did, and then I'll go show them to you. So now we have a second strike, right? So otherwise, all of our strikes, which were 110 and 783, so we had 893 not synthetics. We do have it in synthetics, but we also have it just in calls. So we had 893 calls, and they were at 13.15, right? And we were getting close to the money, but not that close. So now we've got some headway. So we've got 2.6 million at risk. So today we came in and we wrote a 1370. And again, I had to pick the number between a fairly tight range. So I picked 10.2 and said that we collected 51,000. Again, when these volumes are small, if I'm right or wrong by 10 or 15%, which is about all the range is, it's not a big deal. Okay, and you see the money here. I just didn't do something over, and I don't want to take your time on CONY and COIN. So anyway, we got 6.8 million added, so that's why they deployed, right? So let's go look at the weekly before we cover the synthetics. Here's our new, right? So yeah, Mike, we had all of them in one, but since, did we go down or we went up? I think we went down, right? So this, I'll double check it. I think it went from 68 to 57, correct. So just one of those little gadgets that isn't automated that I have to do. It's not in my holdings. Let me go back to weekly. Okay, so Misty was down, not quite as much, right? So this guy should become red now. And the implied volatility went down from, I think, 104, 105 to 102. It's still an excellent IV, which constitutes high premium. So this is our current, okay, by the way, guys, I made this all black because I know you guys see it better. All right? So instead of just 893, we have 50 more. So our percentage out of the money, right, it uses this number to compare against this number. And up here, we have a lot of room to run. With 3 trading days, we can run almost 9%. So that looks reasonably safe. You never know in crypto, right? But this one looks pretty good since it's such a big one, right? So what do we have at stake? Well, we have 2.7 million. This is something I'm always going to keep in here. So remember, when I go show you in payments, I've already included it because we've already been handed that money when we wrote the calls, right? Now, this 51,000 is this group of calls added to this number. So it was 27 before, now at 2702 to be exact. So it's a little bit more. Okay, now let's look at our chart. So I'm happy that we have a second strike, even if it's small amount of contracts. So look on our chart. Again, I didn't update it, but you can see on the chart, we broke out of this bullish flag pattern, right? And we ran up and closed down yesterday at 1268. Well, if you look at that close, we're real close to that. So we're still up here. I had suspected that it's possible for us to come back in this 1150, 1180 range and come down near this breakout line. Do I want that to happen? No, but that's very common, and then it turns around and takes off. So we'll just have to see. They don't all do it. I've seen breakouts that don't, you know, as we like to say, come back to visit the scene of the crime, right? Some pullbacks don't really go anywhere near the breakout line. Some absolutely come down and test it, right? Just like if you had you drew a line down here and it broke below. Sometimes it'll come back and test the breakout and then drop. Sometimes it'll come right back in the trading zone. In this case, we'd have to show it further sloping, and at some point it fails to be a bull flag if it runs all the way back and has an equal low. It's really not a bull flag anymore. So again, no breakout on volume. So let's look at our synthetics that I told you about, right? So this is the trades today, and again, I had to guess these, right? But it's not a real difficult guess. I guessed it within a range, and I looked at the lows and highs for the trading day. It's more about the time of day that they did the trade. And I showed that we made a little bit of money, right? Here, we lost a little bit of money because we paid more, but now that we moved back down some, it's very possible that we made a hair bit of money here. So instead of having a 934,000 loss, we have an 894. But when we actually calculate what are the prices for all of them with the moving down, we now have a paper loss of 2.6 million on this synthetic. Not a big deal, right? We're 3.27% underneath this, right? We could be up there tomorrow, today even, right? And let's see how it trades. So we'll visit holdings, talk about that for a second. So I told you this. This is your 2.3 million, right? Or 2.7 million, right? This is your negative number and this is your positive number. I always put the synthetics together. And so it's 2.68, right? Sometimes I show previous days. I just didn't bother to add them. So we're trading 8 cents above, the suggested fair value at 30.09. Let's look at payments. So we're in a good situation in Misty because, Misty got killed here. And what was it, just yesterday we roll into this 1300. So we picked up this cash because we had an 1150, right? So we're looking pretty good. We added a little bit of money here. Sorry, wrong. Because I went to May 8th on this one. Yeah, so we added this amount of money and I'm using this, so we're up to 2753 in terms of what we collected. That's why when we look at the weekly, what's at risk is starting to lose this if we exceed these values. Okay guys, I gave you enough math. Hopefully you get it. We've got a higher share count, but we're really looking pretty good in Misty in terms of the situation, because remember they had to give us some money out of, with this big loss because we only had a 241 gain here and they paid us 252, and I thought they were only going to give us 2/3 of this number because this represents this big synthetic loss. Even though we had 6 million to carry forward, when you have a 32, it eats that up real quick. All right, guys, that's what I got. Again, this is Bruce from Targeted Wealth Creation. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. It's for fun and education. All right, guys, see ya. Bye.